transaction. Properly issued machines in Trinidad and the Caribbean regions, when tampered with, will also process your transaction, capturing your PIN and your financial data, which goes directly into the card reader, where they process the information through a laptop, a cell phone, any device with a Bluetooth mechanism. This goes to cards. And that is what they use to make these cards one by one. The gold cards represent credit cards or information skimmed from credit cards. The silver card are from debit cards. It's into the front. And then any other card with a magnetic strip, in this case, a properly issued Scotiabank card, that is Scotia, Google Play card, and a Starbucks card, which goes to show that their parameters are very wide. This large machine before you is what we know in colloquial language as a printer. This is the machine that is used for printing the cards. The officer is now taking out the end product of the cards. So you see it's a properly issued FCB card. They rewrite the information and put the new information that was skimmed onto this card and use it, thereby emptying your coffers. This machine is known as a data card encoder. The smaller component to the left comprises of the reel. That is the, if you look carefully, the plastic that covers all the cards. So they make the cards from inception. Right. There are two reels in every encoder. What is important to note that these encoders are only issued to financial institutions. They are not available on any other website. They are only issued to financial institutions. Thanks. Thank you, sir. What we need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that we need to safeguard ourselves from this type of activity. Most of the persons using their cards, swiping their cards with point-of-sale machines, usually do not pay attention to the activity that is taking place with their card, because they may be looking at the item they purchase or maybe looking at some other item. It is important that we keep our eyes on our cards. And as mentioned prior, as long as there is any suspicion of the activity taking place, you must immediately raise a red flag and discontinue that transaction. Contact your financial institution, and of course, do your self-checks. We all have internet now, and we could check online banking to ensure that our money is intact. Right? So just a few more pointers that we may be safeguarding ourselves and our money. We need to be very vigilant about the happenings, because at these merchants, the person who doing the cashing may not be aware that the machine he's using is an unlawful machine. However, the person who may be in charge of the business must have knowledge. The fraudsters get to them, they make their transactions, they rig the machines, they change the hardware in those machines. Right? Because we have people now qualified to speak of those type of components. There's an anti-tamper system in each and every one of those 670 machines. They are updated machines now, the 680. These are the 670 series. And the tamper, as soon as you open the machines, as opposed to the older machines, they send up an anti-tampering device saying that the machines were open and refuse to operate in the manner that it was made for. So therefore, the fraudsters will change the hardware, rewire, and put it in a manner where they could only capture your information. And that information is sent via Bluetooth to any device that they would choose, be it their cell phones or computers, tablets, as the case may be. And from then on, they move on to make their cards, use those cards to go and harvest at various ATMs. So we have to be very vigilant, ladies and gentlemen. That is the update that I have on the ATM skimming activity. However, there are a number of other activities, fraudulent activities taking place. One being the online internet scam. And I would like to introduce you to Inspector Cornelius Samuel on my left, on my right, who will take you through these steps. Inspector Samuel.
Thank you very much, ASP Julian, and good morning to the ladies and gentlemen of the press, and good morning to Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Cornelius Samuel. I'm an Inspector of Police, acting. I am one of the investigators at the Fraud Squad office. I'm posted in Port of Spain at the moment. Mr. Julian spoke about protecting your money, and I would add protecting your hard-earned money. We at the Fraud Squad of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service want to take this opportunity to resensitize the public to the risk of online scams, particularly a category of online scams referred to as romance or friendship scams. This is a type of fraud that involves the exploitation of persons who are seeking a romantic partner or a companion through the use of online dating websites or an application or social media in general. The fraudsters that are involved in this type of fraud are experts at identifying and playing with emotional triggers with the end goal of getting you to part with your hard-earned money. The tools the fraudsters would use in this type of fraud would include fake online profiles, portraying themselves as persons involved in a respectable field, for example, a doctor as part of an international organization, or perhaps someone involved in the military in some part of the world. And what they do is that they patiently work to gain your confidence and trust, sometimes over several weeks or several months. But once that confidence and trust is gained, then the sympathetic stories come. For example, a sudden medical situation involving themselves or perhaps a family member that they cannot afford, or more typically where they have sent a care package of gifts for you but they cannot afford the customs fees to clear it. By that time, the victim would be emotionally invested and may be willing to pay. And before you know it, that victim is instructed to make deposits to a bank account or sometimes bank accounts. And they enter into a vicious cycle of sympathetic stories and requests for payment. By the time the victim realizes that he has been scammed, the scammer has disappeared with, if not all of your money. So in other words, they steal your heart to steal your money. Now, this type of scam is not new. This has been perpetrated throughout the world for many, many years. However, we at the Fraud Squad here at the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we think that it is useful that we resensitize the public at this time, particularly due to the COVID-19 situation. We know that we are now transitioning, and I'm saying we, meaning the population of Trinidad and Tobago, and indeed the world, we are now transitioning into the new normal. And certainly, as we have seen, it involves the intensified use or reliance on online social media platforms. This is the very environment where online scammers thrive. So it is very important that we protect our information so that we can protect ourselves. I wish I could say that this type of fraud is not prevalent in Trinidad and Tobago, but notwithstanding the reporting rate for this type of fraud is low compared to other types of fraud, it still remains pervasive. In fact, about 1 week ago or so, detectives at the Fraud Squad at the Port of Spain office were involved in an operation that involved the arrest of a 48-year-old male Nigerian national as he attempted to withdraw $50,000 from a bank account in Port of Spain. The subsequent inquiries by the detectives revealed that an 82-year-old female retiree living in the Port of Spain area was tricked, in the circumstances I described before, into depositing a total of $262,000 into various accounts, including the account the Nigerian national was trying to access. That individual has since been charged by officers of the Fraud Squad for multiple counts of larceny trick, as well as multiple counts of money laundering under the Proceeds of Crime Act. In fact, this arrest represents a small breakthrough for us, as it has provided critical information that will definitely be useful in other open cases of a similar nature. Now, we at the Fraud Squad, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, while we encourage the public to be safe by wearing their face mask and consistently sanitizing, we also would like the public to be safe online as well. To that end, I have some simple steps or red flags that could help you stay safe while you are online, particularly from this type of fraud. 1, if you are engaging in looking for a romantic partner or companion online, and your new online partner begins to ask you a lot of personal questions early, this should be an indicator that something is wrong. It has been a norm in Trinidad and Tobago and throughout for persons to carelessly post a lot of personal details about themselves online even before the fraud is perpetrated. We at the Fraud Squad would encourage persons to exercise extreme discretion in the details that they post online. This is key. Also, we would ask persons who are online to think carefully about sending photos to this new online partner that you may come into contact with, as well as, even more importantly, using live video via your webcam. This is digital media, and as you know, there are tools that are readily available to manipulate such digital media and can be used against you in the future. Also, if your new online partner avoids answering personal questions about him or herself, or the details that they do provide doesn't make sense or doesn't add up or doesn't reflect reality, then you should take that as a red flag and be cautious moving forward. Also, they may tend to show intense emotion or a personal bond rather quickly within the relationship, giving you words of affirmation and affection. Then you need to be cautious, especially if that occurs early. Sometimes, as we have seen in the cases that we have at the fraud squad, in order to convince a victim in terms of gaining their confidence and trust, they would send photos purporting to be them. What you can do, victims can do what they call a reverse image search. Google has a tool where you can actually upload it and search to see the original source of a photo that was sent to you. You might be surprised, or a victim might be surprised to see that it's a regular stock photo available on the internet. So that is a tool, and if you research that, you can see how easy it is to do. If you reach the stage where you have been asked by your online partner, and because of your emotional investment, you are inclined to pay money, take a pause and see if you can get in contact with a trusted friend. Run the circumstances by him or her. Sometimes a third party can introduce objectivity into that situation, and they may detect or see what you don't as a victim. Apart from these basic tips, online has a wealth of information about these types of online fraud and ways that you can prevent it. Now, at the fraud squad, we are reminding the public in terms of reporting these types of fraud, online fraud and other types of fraud. We remind them to make use of the Ttps app. Of course, it is readily available to be downloaded to any of your mobile devices, or you can visit the fraud squad offices at our Port of Spain office, Park and Richmond Street, as well as in San Fernando at the corner of Montchagrin and Chacon Street in San Fernando, yes. That is if you want to set up a confidential meeting with one of our investigators. We will assess the circumstances and determine the best way forward. So again, I encourage the public, the online presence that we are now using, as you see, as standard for communication and socializing, work, education. We need to be careful about and be aware of those persons who may seek to exploit our new intensified reliance on those platforms. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Cornelius Samuel, Mr. Curtis Julian, both from the fraud squad. We now open the floor for any questions that you may have.
Hi, good morning all. Shane Superville from the Newsday newspaper here. I have two really quick questions. The first one being, well, you're very correct. Criminals are becoming more and more resourceful and creative in terms of how they go and swindle people about their money. From this fraud squad perspective, how have you all been managing and trying to keep pace with the latest technology and so on that these people may have at their disposal? Right.
Excellent question. And one of the things we have been doing is strengthening our partner departments, such as the cybercrime unit. They have been invigorated in terms of being up to date with investigative techniques with respect to electronic media, electronic tools, and those types of devices that might be used by fraudsters, particularly in the online scams.
And the second question, in light of the coronavirus pandemic, have you all seen any new trends in COVID-19 fraud, people attempting to defraud the government, people attempting to defraud businesses in the name of charities or what have you?
So far, we have not had any reported cases. Honestly, we have heard about it, but we have not had any reported cases to us as yet.
Hi, good morning, Derek Archer. I'm from the Guardian Media.
Good morning.
Based on the statistics that you gave, Mr. Julian, it seems that Port of Spain has a high concentration of this ATM skimming and fraud. Is it because it's a high traffic area, a lot of business commerce going on? Is there a correlation between that compared to other parts of the country? So, where they target high traffic areas where there are a lot of people using the ATMs or using the machines, groceries, etc. And secondly, you said that the encoders are usually only issued to legitimate financial institutions. Is it a situation where you guys have received reports in the past or information that, bank workers are colluding with these fraudsters in order to engage in these scams?
To answer your second question first, we haven't had any reports from the banks of any type of collusion. However, there's an authority, the TSL, Trinidad Systems Limited, who are the specialists with these type of components. And they are the reporting sector that give us the information. The first question, based on the topography of Trinidad and Tobago, the Port of Spain fraud section is in charge of 5 divisions, inclusive of Tobago, whereas the South office are in charge of Southern, Southwestern, and Central divisions, which would form a minute part of the persons that would live in that area and, of course, do businesses. So should that answer your question?
Hi, good day again. Without going into too much details, because I would imagine that it is a subject that is currently under investigation or engaging your attention, I know on Monday the police commissioner would have alluded to contracts being given to certain elements in the community. Has any of this engaged your attention recently over the past year or so?
Okay, so we will not be able to, as you suggested, we will not be able to give you any details about any ongoing investigations, potential or otherwise.
That's it.
In terms of the romantic, I don't know if it's honey trapping is the correct term, but in terms of that scam,
Right.
is the situation, I saw reports coming out of Australia that they also, fraudsters do investment scams as well, where they pitch an investment to you. It seems very legitimate, same kind of pressure, same kind of, using that confidence scam. Is that something that you have noticed as well also too?
Yeah, we do have those types of investment scams, and what you have to keep in mind is that the principle is the same, whether it be online or physically, or with regard to the online scams, whether it's the romance type scam that I described or the investment scam that you just brought up. The key is for a person who is engaging with someone online to take as much care as possible, conduct as best due diligence as you can to confirm the things that are being told to you. So yes, we have experienced or we have reported cases such as the investment scams you described. And again, the advice would basically be similar.
Okay, that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for gracing us with your presence. I want to thank ASP Curtis Julian and Inspector Cornelius Samuel of the Force Corps for giving us some pertinent information as it relates to fraudulent crimes. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week, same time, same place.